Hello and welcome to Chapter 2 of Music Theory Basics. In this chapter we're looking at key signatures. Most traditional and popular music is composed and played with a strong feeling of a tonal bass, a sense of where the piece sounds at home. If we play, for example, the chord progression C 2 3 4, F 2 3 4, G7 3 4, C 2 3 4, we have a strong sense of being resolved to a home bass. In this case, you will no doubt hear that the final C chord provides a strong sense of resolution. In musical theory, we are playing in the key center of C major. If we instead change the chord progression to C minor 3 4, F minor 3 4, G7 3 4, C minor 3 4, we would now have our resolution in the C minor chord. Therefore, we are now in the key center of C minor. In practical use, there are 24 different key centers, 12 major keys and 12 minor keys, each corresponding to the 12 keys on the piano keyboard. These will be covered in our next section, the circle of fifths. To understand the concept of key centers and key signatures, we will start by examining what comprises a major scale. Earlier on, we constructed a C major scale by playing only the white notes from one C to the next one up. As you will probably see, we have two different distances or intervals when moving up the C major scale. Starting from C to D, we have the distance of two piano keys, including both the white and the black key. The same is true when moving from D to E, and F to G, G to A, and A to B. However, when going from E to F and from B to C, the distance is only one piano key. In music theory, moving the interval of two piano keys up or down is called a whole step, while moving a single key up or down is called a half step. Therefore, to construct a major scale from any root note, the intervals are going to be moving upwards, a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and lastly, half step. Or maybe to make things easier, all the steps need to be whole step, except you need to add a half step between the third and the fourth note, and in between the seventh and the eighth note. Another basic rule in traditional scale theory is that every note name has to be in the scale one time and just one time only. In other words, you'll have one type of a C, for example, either a C natural, a C sharp, or a C flat, and only one type of a D, some type of a D. Either it's going to be D sharp or a D flat or a D natural and so forth, but you cannot have the same note repeating itself. You cannot have a D sharp and a D flat, for example, or a C sharp and a C natural. That would be two C's. In the case of C major, we can simply play only the white notes starting from a C note to create a C major scale. There is no need for any sharps or flats. Each note name is in the scale one time. However, if we are to construct a major scale starting on any other given root, we will have to include either sharps or flats to have our order of whole and half steps intact. If we, for example, are to construct a G major scale, we would start on G and move up a note, a whole step, to the next note, which would be A, and then to the next note, a whole step, which would be B, then a half step to C, then a whole step to D, and then a whole step to E, and then a whole step to what? What is that note? What will we call it? As you no doubt see and hear, the next note cannot be F, since that is not the right interval jump. We have to play the black key in between F and G in order to have our whole step and half step rule still apply and make the scale sound right. But how will we name this note? Well, it has to be called an F sharp, not a G flat, because every note name has to be in the scale only one time, and one time only. regardless of if it's a sharp, flat, or a natural note. We cannot both have a G and a G flat, but we don't have an F in our scale so far. Therefore, we can call it an F sharp. And as a result, a G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Now, I want you to go on and start on the root on D and see what happens. If you're doing it right, this time you will end up with raising both the F and the C. You raise the F to F sharp and raise the C to C sharp to have your whole step and half step rule apply and make the scale sound right. In this manner, we also need to use several sharps in constructing the major scales from the root notes A, E, B, and F sharp for them to come out just right in theory and sound correct. Now, continuing this journey, let's try and create a major scale starting on the root note F. Let's see, every note name should be in there once, right? But if we play only white notes starting from F, it will sound fine all the way through except for the B note. You will probably see and hear that we need the black note. We need the black note in between A and B instead of B. This is logical since we need a half step between the third and the fourth note. Remember that rule? Well, how do we name this note? It has to be called B flat, not an A sharp, since we already have an A, and every note name has to be in the scale one time and one time only. Now go on and start on the root note B flat and see what happens. If you're doing it right this time, you will need to lower the B to a B flat, of course, since you're starting on B flat, and also the E needs to be lowered to an E flat to have our rule of whole step and half steps apply and sound right. So in this manner, we also need to use several flats in constructing the major scales from the root notes E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat for them to come out right in theory and sound correct. The results when constructing all the different major scales is that we get 6 scales that need sharps and 6 scales that need flats, remembering that C major needs no sharps or flats. The sharp key signatures are G major, D major, A major, E major, B major, and F sharp major. The flat key signatures are F sharp major, B flat major, E flat major, A flat major, D flat major, and G flat major. You will notice that when reaching the keys with 6 sharps and 6 flats, they will sound the same but have completely different note names in them. This is of course because we are starting the scale from the same note, F sharp or G flat, which will have the same sound or sound identical. In music theory, this is called enharmonic keys. Also, in practical use, you will rarely see key signatures with more than 6 sharps or flats, since it will then be easier to pick an enharmonic key with fewer sharps and flats. There are, however, pieces written in keys such as C sharp major, G sharp major, and C flat major. C flat major having 7 flats. For the purpose of this course, we decided to exclude these keys since they are enharmonic keys that will be much easier to play in, and also to simplify the design and the use of the circle of fifths in this course. What about the minor keys then? Well, I'm happy that you asked. Each major key has a corresponding minor key and shares the same notes scale-wise. If we again only play the white notes on the piano keyboard, but this time begin and end with the note A, we get an A minor scale, usually called the natural minor scale. So an A minor scale is spelled the following way: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A again. In music theory, the keys of C major and A minor are considered relative keys, meaning that they use the exact same notes or the same tonal material. Finding the corresponding minor key signatures to the relative major key is easy. just move down 3 half steps from the major key root and you will reach its equivalent minor cousin. For example, the relative key to F major is D minor. The relative key to A major is F minor, and these keys have the exact same notes in them.